Okay. Dear students and members of Faculty of Architecture and Design, welcome to the 5th session of Archi-Design Talks. For today's talk, I would like to welcome one of our distinguished colleagues and a friend, Sıla Karakaya, to give her seminar titled as How to Use Your Design Skills to Become a Production Designer for Theater and Film. Before leaving the floor to Sıla Karakaya, I want to introduce her and her works very briefly. Sıla Karakaya is an Istanbul-based production designer, art director, graduated from NYU TISCH School of Arts with a Master of Fine Arts degree in production design and scenic design. Her background in Master of Fine Arts for Lighting Design from Parsons, the New School for Design, and her Bachelor of Fine Arts in Interior Architecture from Bilkent University helped her uniting her skills with her passion. Sıla Karakaya fell in love with theater on May 12, 2001 at exactly 8 p.m. And she still tries to recall that unique moment on stage by creating worlds for theater, commercial, and film characters. Maybe we can hear more about this very unique moment, Sloja, after this introduction. And designer founded Plus B612 Design Studio in 2014 to spark the collaborative creativity in her team. Since 2013, she is teaching at Bilgi University, developing her own academic method on production design for stage and screen in Faculty of Communication, Department of Fashion Design. Sıla Karakaya and her team's portfolio includes many films, theater plays, commercials, digital platform productions, TV productions, music and dance videos, short films, such as I would like to count a few because there are dozens of productions by them. So just a few, namely Boy from Heaven, Jet Lag, Bir Nefes Daha, I'm You, Born a King, Coastliners, The Butterfly's Dream. And she has many affiliations and awards, but I'm just going to, again, name a few of them since we have a very short time. The film I Am You listed as official selection for Oscars and Golden Globe Awards in 2019. 49th Siyat Film Awards nomination for Best Art Director for Baskın, the movie, 2017. Acting and Movement in Derme Çatma Stage, Director Çiğdem Selçuk Onat, 2016. Ettinger Award for Excellence in Design, 2011. So this list goes on and the productions list goes on. But now I would like to just stop and leave the floor to Sıla Karakaya. And I would like to once more thank you for sparing some time and being with us, Sloja. Yes, the floor is yours. I think there's a connection problem. Hocalarım, can you hear me?
Yes, hocam, we can hear you, but Sıla Hoca is, I think, frozen.
Okay.
There might be a problem.
She appears online, however, yes, there is a problem.
I'm back.
Yes, okay.
Okay.
Started to move
I'm
again.
back.
Okay. Okay,
They
welcome back.
We're like in middle of Şişli, like this internet connection is so horrible. I'm so sorry.
I can understand.
Evet. Nasıl yapıyoruz? Başlayabilir miyim?
Yes, yes. My introduction has already finished, so you can start whenever you like.
Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me, first of all. As you might know, Sezin Hoca is one of my instructors from Bilkent University. So, and I see Serengül, she's a very good friend of mine. And I don't really see
all of you. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you. I don't see any of your faces, you can turn on your cameras if you like. I really would love to give my speech to faces instead of the black hole. I don't know if the students can turn on their cameras. I don't think this presentation is ever going to be something like, oh, this is how I do stuff. And of course, I'll show you some of the examples from my work and from my team's work, but it's mostly about like you, how can you use your design skills to become an art director or production designer, which I think is very relevant for your departments. I mean, probably you'll be your architecture students, interior architecture students, and graphic designers. I'm seeing Farnoosh face. Hi. So if you can turn on your cameras, I prefer to have like more interactive conversation. I'm seeing 4 people at the same time. Do we have multiple viewing things? Do we have more than 4 people turning their having
actually on? In the more there is a bar on top of your screen, Slojam, and there is a tag called more. In the more there is a pull down menu. You may see a large gallery there. I'm not seeing it at the moment. It's not functional in mine, but maybe I
Great.
can.
I'm seeing you guys. I have 9 people on. Great.
Yeah, now mine is working as well. Yeah, great.
Thank you. So I would really want you to ask questions while I'm presenting, so it's more about you than me. I've given this speech maybe like 100 times, sort of similar in the way, like, because I'm teaching at the University of Bilgi. This is my 11th year at the academy. I'm used to having students in front of me. So while I'm talking, just don't hesitate to ask questions. I mean, it might just spark an idea in your mind. So just by reminding that, this is mostly like, what can you do after you graduate? And what, like, can art direction or show business be a career path for you guys? I don't know if anyone is ever interested in backstage or acting, and you can let me know by raising hand. And this is, so let me start from here, actually. I'm an interior architecture graduate, as Sezin Hoca told you, and I graduated in 2006, which is a long time ago. And then I wanted to use those design skills for performing arts, actually. I was really crazy for theater, and that moment that Sezin Hoca read from my bio is that moment, like I was acting in high school, the second year of high school, and that moment of like creation together with a team actually made me like believe that I would love to have a life that's surrounded with a lot of people. So I figured out that I really like teamwork with that project. That was a high school theater play by Murat Mungan. Anyhow, so that's first when I thought that, like, okay, I would love to have a team life. Like, I really like to collaborate with people, and I was always into teamwork. I don't know why, and now I'm becoming a little bit more individualistic as I'm aging. But that time of my life, I said, like, okay, let's have a work life that's full of people, like that requires a lot of people. And after I graduated from interior architecture, actually, I would probably become a decent interior architect if I was not so mesmerized by theater, which I totally adore the disciplines. I love architectural education, and first of all, like the education that you're getting out of an architecture department is fundamental for film business. So it's like one of the best educations that you can ever get. I mean, you can be an architect if you want to become stage designer. If you want to become a production designer, interior architecture is a great start, and graphic design is a great start. Industrial design is a great start. So your basic fundamental design skills is gonna put you in front of a lot of people while being picked by an art department to work in a movie project or a theater project. So that's how I started. And I mean, I really want to go from today backwards. I don't want to start from Big Bang. I don't want to say like, I just want to go like talk about today and how it was possible in these years. So do you have anyone who's interested in art direction or costume design or anything that's related to performing arts? Do I have to point one person here that's like, I really want to be part of show business? Dalia, what's your thoughts about like show business? Like, what do you think?
I just got interested in it recently, and I thought like, since I don't know, I'm having lots of mixed feelings, but I like stories, I like writing, and I thought it could be a very nice start to maybe try to take, I like words, I love words, don't get me wrong, but maybe picturize the words of it. It would be nice as well. So I thought of that.
It's a great contribution that you're saying, because like the biggest thing that's making it different than architecture is the story. We are all connected to a script. We are totally trying to create a screenplay. Of course, we start with a story. So we are more storytellers than anything else, I would say. Of course, you design. Geri geldin mi?
Evet, geri geldin.
Gerçekten Türkcell davet etmek istiyorum şu anda. İnanılmaz. Sorry.
Hepsi öyle hocam.
Şişli'nin ortasında skandal. Anyhow, so I mean, no matter what you want to be doing, your design background is a great start to say. And the story is the crucial part of it. Like, so we're storytellers. It's a very tough life, what we are dealing. I'm sure you hear from your friends or from the people that is involved in the industry that it's not a very easy path to go. I can promise you that it's never easy, because we don't really have proper work hours, and we don't truly have a life, just to be exact, because when you are designing a show, you're totally immersed in that project, and you don't really have time for other stuff, which is the downside. But it's a very fun lifestyle, I would say, if you are open for adventures, if you are open for if you don't like 9 to 5 office work, and if you like to interact with people, if you have good communication skills with people, and if you're a little bit hyperactive, I would say, that would be a good positive thing for a filmmaker. It's a very tough life to start with. Okay, but I don't want to discourage people for this. And the industry in Turkey is totally growing, and we would totally need new people who's gonna learn this craft. So I don't want to discourage all of you, because it's a very tough life, but just to start with that. Okay, so maybe I can start showing you couple of examples from what we've done, but I really want to get some feedback from the rest of the people who don't turn on their cameras. I feel like I'm totally talking to the black hole. Anyhow, so let me share my Okay, it's fine. So let me share my screen, and I'll show you. Yeah, let's start from today. As some of the films that we're working on, it also like it's all about directors' ideas. It's all about directors, like how they envision the film. So some of them might be very high on fantasy lands. Some of them can be very high on natural presentation of the real world. Some of them might be very stylized. Some of them might be very loose. It's all dependent on the director's view. So we start with the script, as I say, like we receive the script and we find the keywords that's hidden in the script, and we're trying to, it's almost like being an FBI agent, I think. We're trying to figure out what's inside of a director's brain. We're trying to materialize it. We just want to say, okay, there are words in the script, but we are trying to put it in the screen. And everything in the screen is very much controlled. So maybe if this is, I don't know, let me share it. Can you see my screen?
No, we're not seeing your screen at the moment, but we are hearing the sound.
Can you see my screen now?
No.
Şu an geliyor mu?
Hayır.
Ay, inanamıyorum ya şu an. Vallahi anlamıyorum neden olduğunu.
Acaba pencere paylaşımı olarak mı denemeli? En son öyle denemiştik.
Şu an geliyor mu?
Hayır.
Belki bağlantı yavaşlığından problem olmuş olabilir.
Şöyle bir şey yapalım mı? Ben bilgisayar, yani daha doğrusu içeriden açayım. Bir 10 dakikaya devam edelim mi? Öyle olmayacak çünkü. Ya da
Olur.
5
Nasıl-
dakika verin bana,
nasıl-
açayım öbür taraftan, bilmiyorum
Tamam.
yani şu an ne yapacağım ama açamıyorum yani.
Tamam.
Ama 5 dakikaya görüşürüz.
Okay, so dear faculty members and dear students, as an apparent situation, we have a connection problem. So our guest will be relocate her computer and will get into connection with us in a few minutes. Hopefully, she will connect back in 5 minutes. So we ask your patience 5 more minutes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Sesim geliyor mu?
Evet, evet, duyuyoruz.
Erişim izni alabilir miyim? Bir de o çalışıyor mu bakacağım.
Merhaba tekrar.
Merhaba. Modemin yanına kamp kurdum. İnşallah çalışır.
Olmuş olması
Senden
lazım
sonra
şu an.
benim de koptu. Ben de modeme yaklaştım.
Geliyor
Bir
mu
şey
şu an?
var Şişli'de herhalde.
Evet. Tamamen gitmiş yani internet. Şey var, şu an görüntü var mı?
Evet.
Hı hı.
İnat, kadere inat.
Ses var mı?
Her şey çok güzel olacak. İnat, inat, inat, inat.
Var. Yani görüntü
Evet.
biraz kare kare oluyor tabii ama görüyoruz ve duyuyoruz iyi kötü.
Tamam, okey. Herkes geri döndü mü acaba? Do we have everyone back?
Yes, everybody is here.
Sorry for Türk Telekom. I'm sharing. Let me share this one with you before. So this is a movie that we shot before pandemic, actually, and there are some stuff that I feel like that cannot be done today because of the shooting conditions and everything. Let's see.
Selam, Fehmi ben.
Emin.
Ellerim çok düşük. Sanırım ki söyleyecekler öyle. Zaten ben ateşi yaktım. Albüm yapıyorum. Albüm.
So while you're designing a movie, I mean, it's different than the interior architecture. What we're trying to do is we're trying to give the feeling of the space with the script and with the actors itself. Ses normal ve görüntü normal geliyor mu şu ana kadar?
Evet.
Great. Okay. So it's different. So we're trying to create an environment that's suitable for the actor. In this case, this movie is all about, it's a music story, first of all. It's directed by Nisanda. And it's a love story. It's more like a Romeo and Juliet version of in the rap world. And I don't know if anyone's seen this, but it got the Best Director Award in Tallinn in 2020. So our director was really particular with the sets. So she wanted to have a very realistic kind of look to it, but she wanted to add some fantasy elements as well.
Ateşi yaktım. Albüm yapıyorum. Albüm.
So we shot the movie mostly in Balat and Galata districts. It's mostly was located in Zeyrek, Unkapanı, and Balat. And so we were trying to create the contrast between the two worlds, with Fehmi's world, the main lead character, and the woman lead character. She was more she was coming from a wealthier background, so we needed to create the neighborhoods for those two characters. So we're following these two characters.
Eğer öyle eğlenceli bir şey arıyorsan bizimkinin ayarını bozma derim. Hassastır.
Abi sen hiç ya.
Oğlum boşuna uğraşma ya. Biz Fehmi'yle bonsai'ye alıştırdık onu.
Niye kaşınıyorsun o zaman? Yani derdin de ne olsun istiyorsun?
Bilmiyorum ya.
So we were trying to color code the characters' worlds, actually. And we were just trying to say, like, these are two different worlds that's not going to come together really seamlessly. Then when everything starts going wrong with the drug abuse of the lead character, which is not a spoiler, it's in the trailer, that's what I can say, things change. So we wanted to add fantasy elements in his drug trips and with the music correspondence.
olacak. Her şey çok güzel olacak. İnandım. Kadere inandım. Her şey çok güzel olacak. Biz böyle kendimizi, mahallemizi anlatmaya çalışıyoruz. Burada hayattayken de öyle.
So it was more like a documentary kind of styling we had, apart from the drug trips that he had. It was pretty much realistic, but a little bit of a heightened realistic that we were after.
Bilmiyorsun.
By the way, could you share the link for this video if possible? Maybe people can watch simultaneously.
Oh,
Because
is it that bad?
the picture is frame by frame right now. Maybe
Oh
it
God.
will be better if you have the link.
Yeah, I do have the link, but maybe I don't know how to, like, because I was gonna show you a lot of moving images since I'm a movie maker, and this is not helping me at all.
We can still understand, but maybe if we have the link also, maybe people can watch later. I don't know.
Okay, let's do it that way.
Thank you.
So let me finish this.
Kendinle beraber beni de aşağı çekiyorsun. Farkında değil misin?
So as you see, like, we are involving a lot of interior spaces, and those interior spaces doesn't always have to look beautiful. I mean, we're not always looking for beauty while we're doing film design. It depends on the story. So that's one big thing that's very different from interior design. We're trying to create something beautiful and something very pleasant for the user in the interior design world. But in this case, we're more after the life. If the character is having trouble in his life, we don't hesitate showing it in his spaces, and that's matter. And we need to understand truly what the director wants to see it in the frame. So it's a collaboration. I'm not just doing it by myself. It's the script writer, it's the cinematographer, it's the director, it's the producer. Of course, when you like fantasize some kind of reality, and if your budget is not enough, you cannot make it happen. So you have to be very good friends with producers as well. So constant battle of budgeting is very important in our case, actually.
20 saat çalışıyorum ben çünkü salağım ben. Benim gibi olma, tamam mı?
I mean, just like by stopping this frame, it tells a lot about the character. It's yeah, it's a flat that we see some of the influences from their mom, but they're like living in this house is like 3 men, a father and 2 sons. Their mom is deceased, so we sort of get the hints of a mother's presence in this environment, but we can truly tell that it's a bachelor setup that these people are living at. So it's not just like trying to design a beautiful space. It's just every single object in the frame matters. The curtain, the choice, the pattern on the curtain, especially on textiles, tells a lot. And with the projects that looks like this, which is not polished, sometimes we deal with projects with a lot of luxury. So everything needs to look very polished, very much like from a catalog. But in this case, the story required a true essence of their real life. That's why it looks very non-designed. I really would like to underline the story more than being like jarring on the design in some projects. And some projects require the design to look fabulous, like in Tim Burton projects. I mean, it's all about design. Of course, it's all about many other stuff, but the design is very much in the lead role. But in this case, you have to do your job in a very subtle way, so it's not becoming jarring.
Sakın benim gibi olma.
Abi evet İnan olacak. Her şey çok güzel olacak. İnan kadere inat. Her şey çok güzel olacak. İnan inan. Her şey çok güzel olacak. İnan kadere inat. Her şey çok güzel olacak.
It's, as I said, like, it's not just about art direction. It's more of a collaboration between all the other departments, actually. And as you see, art direction is just one layer of it. But you start with by creating the world, actually. And then we can go, and I don't know if we lost a lot of people while we're having the technical problems. Probably we did. So I'd love to go, and I'll talk, like, I wanted to get some questions from you before I proceed to the Cannes Film Festival film, but maybe it's better if we move on. Öyle görünüyor galiba. Sezin Hocam, değil mi?
Yes, we can move on, but we can also encourage people to just interrupt and ask if there is any questions. What do you think, Sıla Hocam?
Yeah. Just raise your hand and I'll be totally... While I'm showing the videos, I cannot see if you're raising hands. Just let me know, because I don't see you guys while I'm showing some footage.
Okay, I'll let you know if I see any hands going up. No worries.
Okay, great.
Okay.
So let's give some good bits then. Boy from Heaven. So the last movie that it's the movie that I designed last 2 years ago, and it was in Cannes Film Festival this year. So before we going on with the technical aspects of it, let me just show you the surrounding, like what's happening in Cannes and why is it that important, and how people make these film possible. I was the art director to Roger Rosenberg, so he was I was on the technical side of him. So he gave us the full insights, and we made it happen. So so as you see, like, I don't know, like what your thoughts about Oscars and Cannes, but Cannes is a little bit different than many other competitions. Actually, it's supporting the independent movies more than the mainstream ones. And this movie that we filmed had a very controversial subject matter. It was totally dealing with some political issues in Egypt. So we shot Cairo in Istanbul. So they wouldn't be able to shoot this movie in Cairo itself, because it was talking about a very big political conflict, like the relationships between the universities and the government. So it was a subject matter that they cannot ever film this in Egypt, and the director was even banned from his own country with his previous film, which was Nile Hilton incident. So they came and they visited us, and this is quite common, actually. Like, there are so many foreign productions out from outside the geography, especially from Europe. They come and they want to replicate the region in Turkey. Why? We have the texture of a Middle East. I mean, if you cannot shoot anything in Iran, but you can replicate this settings more or less in Turkey, because of the looks of our architecture and the technical crew that can make it possible. So in that case, like, this Boy from Heaven was a very interesting experience for all of us. So that's why we tried to create Cairo in various parts of Istanbul and in Adana. So we moved to Adana, and we shot the first scenes that's in the lake. There are lake scenes. It's about a boy who comes from a poor village who makes it in Al-Azhar University in Cairo, which is the biggest religious universities in the world, and he becomes a part of this murder mystery thing. So, not by giving too much of a spoiler, let me just open the trailer and let's just watch the movie as if it was shot in Istanbul. So, trying to shoot stuff outside of the context is very tough for art departments. So every single frame mattered a lot for me while I was doing the art direction, because it needed to look like Cairo. And there was a language that I had no idea, the Arabic. I can't read or write in Arabic, but all the signs, the shop signs, and all the documentations needs to be done in Arabic. So all the little envelopes, like all the little letters from the university acceptance, everything, like all single detail, like the money and everything, needed to be done in Arabic. So I had a colleague. We found very good collaborator called Omar from Cairo. He was a graphic designer, and so he helped us creating the graphics. Plus, he was supervising us if it looks like Cairo or not. So that was a very big challenge for us, to tell the truth. So everything you see now is from the teaser is from Istanbul. So a Cannes Film Festival looked like this, actually. Let me just mute it. And it was a big, it's a big spectacle. And this is the crew. And we don't usually look like this on set. We are usually wearing like the most relaxed training shoes, and we're running around in shorts. So like filmmaking is not like this all the time. This is like the end product, and this is like the top that you can do. But I mean, it consists a lot of human communication before that. So this is it, about like the insides of it. And let me just show you the trailer of it. And there are so many different versions of it, but this was the English sub version. I hope you can see it.
We're still seeing the Cannes Film Festival ceremony.
Oh, okay. So I think I need to change every time I'm changing a tab. Here you go. I think you can see it.
Yes.
Great. Let me just run the entire trailer first, and then I'll stop and I'll talk about it on it after silencing the movie.
عشانك الأزهر منارة العلوم الإسلامية واختاروك هنا. ده أول يوم ليك؟ يا دوبك وصلت. أهلا. عاوز حاجة يا شيخ؟
زي ما انتم عارفين شيخ الازهر توفى امبارح. اختيار الشيخ الجديد قضيه الامن الوطني بالدرجه الاولى. الرئاسه عايزه البلاوي. خلوهم يختاروه.
انا اتكشفت، انت خليني اخلع. شوف لي ملاك جديد، بيفضل يكون طالب جديد لسه بشوفه.
ادم هو نموذج للطالب المثالي.
لكش قريب هنا في مصر؟ لا، محتاجين تساعدنا. احنا بنعتقد ان الاخوان اخترقوا الازهر. صلي وتشوفي كمان مين تاني بيصلي. احفظ لي اشكالهم، اعرف اسمائهم.
ادم، ايه الحاجه اللي حطيت نفسك فيها دي؟ تشتغل لحساب مين؟
عندي شويه معلومات تهم فضل.
سمعة الازهر كله هتتمرمغ في التراب.
تعرف ايه حكم المرتد؟ الاعدام.
Yeah. So just by seeing the trailer, I'll just reopen it again. But you'll probably notice that it's all men, and there are like really no women involved in the film, which was the truth. Actually, we had two women character that was in the movie only, and they had like maybe 1 minute of screen time. The rest was taking place in a very men's world, which I had no idea about. Like I had no idea about Cairo and Al Azhar University and what it looks like from inside. So that's a big challenge. Like you start off with the script and then you research what it looks like in real life. So that's like the biggest part of our work, is to know what what it exactly looks like in real life. So that's like the research period of it, and then we research and we team up in a way that you make it possible on set. Like there's so for instance, let me just, I'm silencing it and it's playing at the background. I'll talk about it. For example, in this scene, the movie starts in a lake, where we shot in Adana, and it's a village for fishermen, and we had to really shoot this in the early times, in just before the storm. So they had the storm scene. We had to shoot the storm scene behind it. So each part of the movie can be shot in different locations, but like it looks like one whole thing. So just by seeing, you'll see the other locations, and they're going to be shot in totally different areas. This mosque was in Adana as well, and that graphic, the acceptance letter, was something that we produced. And there are some scenes where they comped the real Cairo footage with Istanbul. So the previous, so this is in Beyazıt. This is right across Orhan Kemal Kütüphanesi. But this one in particular is in Süleymaniye. Süleymaniye Mosque gave permission for this movie, for us to take it. Like this was one of our biggest sets, and of course you cannot do much on the religious complexes, and we had very few things to do in this setup. With we color coded the colors of the praying carpets, and we played with the colors of the Quran, but there are not much that you can do. You can just like we did a very minimal touch on the space, whereas in many of other locations that was built from scratch. For example, this dorms, we shot that in Lape Mental Hospital, that's in Shishli, and that was maybe like one of the most challenging things that we've done. So this dorm room consists of like these are 3-tier bunk beds, and we had a 4 rows. So we had 12 bunk beds in this little teeny tiny room that we shot. That was like, you see, it's just like really small space, 3 by 4, something like that, that we had to fit the beds, and they had to be removable for the director of photography to shoot the scenes. For example, in this scene, we're having this bed is totally mobile, that we can like we removed one of the beds so that the camera can stick into this room. So it's a constantly changing thing that you need to collaborate with the director of photography, the camera person. And the courtyard of Süleymaniye, some of the extras were added in post-production, because we shot this during COVID times. So we couldn't have many extras that was going to be able to come on set because of the pandemic. So probably there were like 1/5 of the crowd, and they replicated with CGI in post-production later on. And there are so many other scenes that's like that. If you watch it carefully, you might just like catch the pandemic masks in 1 or 2 scenes, but we tried to avoid this because this was almost like a period piece that was taking place before pandemic. So we had to avoid all the masks. And then this was shot in Cairo, actually. No, this was shot in, in Sweden, because one of the producer, like the producer, the main producer of the show was Swedish, Atmo company, so that they had to shoot some scenes in Sweden to get some foundation money from the film funding institutes, that you have to shoot some parts in your own country, that they had to go and they had to replicate. They had to find a room for the military compound of Cairo. So anything that's like in Sweden, if you're in Sweden, nothing is so related, but this is set design that is making it possible. So it's like interior designers, architects, you can get very excited about like creating a space that's like this. So of course we take it from the references, and we see a lot of documentaries, we watch a lot of documentaries, and we are trying to make it as accurate as possible, because of course it gets in translation, like the way, for example, the way people drink their tea is totally different in Cairo than in Istanbul, and I don't think a Swedish can only imagine like the real like teacup. So this is part of our job as well. So from one small teacup to the entire room, we control it somehow, and all the props that are seen in the movie has to make sense. Like if someone stops and reads it, it needs to make sense. And all of these photos are taken by the crew. So all the documentation is done by graphic designers. And of course, like it's not just only about creating the real thing, it's about choosing the right location. So in this case, I think we have the really perfect locations for the story. For like after the Cannes celebration, they said like they couldn't understand that it wasn't shot in Cairo. Even the Egyptians was this. They said like, how come like did you go and shot, like how did you shoot in Al Azhar? Like they couldn't, like even the ones that have experience like on the location, the ones that seen the location, they were quite surprised that that was the case. Yeah, and these were some footage that was comped from Cairo, that the director went and filmed the Cairo itself. So that's how they stitch it together. So that's how you don't really know if it's Cairo, if it's Sweden, or if it's somewhere else. This is a very basic filming trick that you always do while creating your spaces. So while you're designing your spaces, you understand the needs of the space, and then you try to connect them as if they're like extension of the same world. So you're trying to make it consistent with your location choices. Okay, so this was it from from Heaven, and I would totally love to show the like how we do it in a way. Like it's not it's not magic. Like it's all about communication. It's all about like how you create documentation to make it okay for the entire crew. So we create booklets, we create Bibles to say, and they're more like the mood booklets that you're creating in school. So it's like the extended version of what you're doing in school, but in a very obsessive way. Like we take care of every single subject with very much of documentation. So I'll show you one thing that might be very fun for you to see. These are my storyboards that I'll show you before. Let me give a brief info. And I think this is going to be the last thing that I'll show you, maybe a couple of more stuff before we wrap. And this is a fun bit. This was a storyboard that we've done for this movie, and it was made to communicate with everyone. It has very fun drawings, but let me show you. One second. Yes, here you go. So yes, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So these are some sketches that I've done throughout the filmmaking process. They were like, they started out like me taking the real locations. For example, this one is from Adana, from Karataş. We actually filmed. And this is like, I started with some collage techniques. So I was going to the locations itself with the directors of photography, and I was taking photos of the locations. And I was totally coming home, and I was adding some stuff with Procreate, like really easily, and I was erasing some stuff, and I was taking notes on them. And then this is how we started this storyboarding thing. And we saw that it was truly explaining the entire sequence, apart from these really funny people that you'll see. But you see that we're going to have a boat, a hero boat with some fishnets, and they're going to be carrying some buckets and everything. This is like the very initial response. Like right after I see the location, I go home and I sketch some stuff like, oh, what if there were like some dudes playing backgammon and he was carrying some baskets, and these are some collages that we hang the fishnets, and the location doesn't look anything like this. And the dad is punishing the three kids while they're having like a dinner, and what would the location look like. This is a very primary sketch. Then we go we add a lot to this script. And this was the room where he finds the book of his son that he wasn't supposed to have. And as you see, there are like two other boys that's sharing the same room, and we ended up shooting it sort of similarly. And they are like, this is early in the morning, and they're praying, and they have a motorbike, and they have a horse. So it doesn't have to like be super accurate in the first place. You just have to throw the ideas like, oh, what if we had like a room that's like this, and a simple shot. Usually like I add stuff that's in this collages with the pencil drawing, the props that's listed in the script. If I know that he's peeling potatoes, I'm putting a peeling potato over there. And he ends up in this mosque that you've seen in the trailer, and we're changing the titles, the signage of it. And you saw that this was like the initial sketch that I've made. It's the dialogue between Imam and him, and he's doing vacuum cleaning, and vacuum cleaning was in the script. So that was it. And they end up in a bus terminal, which was a nightmare that we shot in Adana. So we had to change all the signage and every single signage that you see, and we had to recreate their gold bus that was very particular for Cairo, and we had to give props and everything. And this is very initial response that we're making, like, oh, what if we're changing the titles, and what if we're doing this, da, da, da. So however you find yourself comfortable with, even if it's like fun. I don't do this all the time, but this was very useful for the crew. We had a meatball cart that was stated in the script, and we had to change the ATM signages. And of course, the technical side of it, we had to deal with the Süleymaniye Mosque itself. And this is Haydarpaşa campus of Marmara Fine Arts University, which was closed down, but we had the privilege to use it for our shoots. So we turned this into Al Azhar, the campus, university campus. So of course, it's not all only about like adding some components, but it's all more about like deleting some stuff. For example, in this one, it was like the administration scene where you see hundreds and hundreds of students that's like lining up for their administrative day, and they have passport photos on the wall. So this was like a nightmare for all of us. Like, how can you have like a row of like 50 meters of like student passport photos and they don't look alike? So we had to use an AI engine for that. We used artificial intelligence just to try to replicate, and we had to like limit the artificial intelligence them being just male, because this university was only male, so we didn't have women AI generated photos, and we wanted them to look more like Middle Eastern. So we could choose their countries, some Indonesians and some sort, and it made it possible for us. Like, it created millions of passport photos just for that scene. And actually that was establishing in the movie that you see them, they were there. And this is the administration banquet that the director wanted to have, to convert this little corridor into an administrative office. And the corridors itself, and there's this little dude sitting on the riser. And guess why this riser is here? Because like we had to hide all the heaters in the university, because in Cairo they don't have heaters, they only have ventilators. So we had to delete, we had to cover up all the heaters that you see in the movie, like in all the locations. Like, we had to cover all the heaters. That's one thing that you need to know about the geography, because it's too hot, they don't have heaters, and we do have heaters. So that was one of the indications. It looks like as if I'm having fun in this presentation, but it's telling a lot to the crew. We're adding like two big, huge fans, and this blackboard wasn't there, and they wanted to have a huge sliding um, green board, like chalkboard, where they had like all their like main classes were taking place in here. And they had a science experiment with a real mouse and a real snake. So we had to make it happen. And this was from Orhan Kemal Library. Actually, this is a very fun story that we like. It's a nightmare to film in a library if you are shooting in another language, because like you cannot empty those shelves. You cannot empty those shelves. Like, there is no way in the world that you take all the books in order and you box them and you use them and then you turn it into the, I mean, you totally mess it up. Like this, that's one thing. And it takes so much time to take them off. And like, because we had to shoot in this location in 3 different times, like we had to shoot this in a month apart, so from each other. So I had to redo this nightmare over and over again. So that's why like we found a way of creating plugs. Like, we pushed all the library books and we created like half-made plugs. Like, we made like half-made Arabic books that had like Arabic relevant titles behind them that are religious. It cannot be like any it cannot be about any kind of Arabic book. It needs to be in religious or mostly economic stuff that we had. And it was like 1 million of book that we needed to cover. So this exact collage that I made is totally emphasizing that nightmare that our art department is having. And they wanted to add like fans on the ceiling and stuff like that. So imagine, and then the actor finds a real book from that fake book. So that book that had the close-ups had to be real books. We had to find the real books themselves, as if they were like really precious university books, because that was written in the script that they were manuscripts almost, that you had to hunt for the manuscripts and you had to make copies and that kind of stuff. And this was from a literature class that they were having. And this is from Machka Technical High School, if anyone is familiar. This is from Machka. And we had to cover, like we had to do makeovers for, we had to change all the seats, for example, because like nowadays all the seats are like for one person and they're very modern, but in this case they wanted to squeeze 3 men in a row, which was stay like it was scripted. So we had to find old-fashioned seats, like student seating, that you can sit like 3 people at the same time. This is one of the very fun collages that I made. It's like bunch of crowd with and the grand imam is sitting in the pedestal. So that was the setup, the initial setup that you saw in the trailer, that turned out to be much simpler than that. And of course the food, oh my god, the food is one of the nightmares, that you have to do an extensive research, that like what do these people eat. So this is a canteen for that serving 3 times a day, and imagine this is being crowded for like hundreds, with hundreds of people that's just eating. And there are so many ways that you can put your tables. I mean, in this case we ended up using this configuration with one bunch here and one bunch here and one corridor that's splitting the 2 rows. But the other idea was to have like one big chunk here and one big chunk here, and having the corridor horizontally to the frame. But this is creating a vertical look, whereas this one is creating a horizontal look. This kind of collage is very helpful for the director to actually decide on like what kind of composition that they would like to have in the canteen. It matters a lot, because like you're setting up a table for 500 people and you cannot just do it like this on set. If the directors, I mean, they don't just appear on sets and be like, oh, let's just have the tables this way. I mean, it would take and steal all your filming time. So we have to know everything in advance. So the collages and the technical reques, we call them the tech scouts, help a lot. And this one is from La Paix. Again, you saw this in the trailer. This is where you end up in that dorm room that you saw. And we had to cover the heaters, of course, and we kept the weird blue color, but we had to cover up some rooms because they had like the doors missing and they didn't have much in it. So we had to dress like little tiny rooms that looks like it's been hosting hundreds and hundreds of dorm room people. This is one of the very fun sketches that I had. It looks very simple, but this shows like how we put the 3-tier bunk beds next to each other. This is the toilet that we had to build a fake door at the back of the frame that you see, the one that has a line around it. That was a fake door which was exiting to the garden, but in this case they wanted to connect this toilet that was located in the basement floor to the 3rd floor. So you exit from that door and you end up in the third floor. So you have to adjust, you have to do all those adjustments accordingly. And this is from Orhan Kemal Library. Again, it's the basement floor. We totally turned this into a corridor for the senior scholars, where they had like the university teachers. They're not like in the, they're more like regular academics, I would say, like the ones with PhD had this kinds of corridors in Al-Azhar, by the way. It's interesting enough. And so we had to turn one of the basements of that library into the corridor of senior scholars. And the guy is he's preparing coffee for this. Like he becomes one of the students of that sheikh that they're trying to reveal. So he's sneaking in some secret information from his teacher slash this man who's totally creating this political drama. So he's making him some coffee and sorts. And there are small rooms, how they would look like, and and many more. And there's some exterior locations that we have to pay consideration with. This was from a party scene that it's called Seyda Zeynep. And apparently it's like one of the craziest times of their year. So there is a festivity for mostly men. Again, they're playing like electro Arabic music, and it's a different culture that I had no idea beforehand. So these sketches were just to indicate that we needed a taxi, that we had to change a taxi, like we had to buy a car and we had to dress it that looks like this. We bought Murat, it's not even Murat, we got it from actually from Egypt. Like they transported from Egypt for us and we dressed it to look like it's Egyptian. So and what their music look like, and what can you do in Süleymaniye Mosque. You don't have much to do in holy spaces like this, but usually they make us change like the bulbs, like the lighting bulbs, which is 5,000 bulbs in this case, which looks right in the camera. And one of the houses that we had, and that there's a baby that she is hiding. So this is like a parody collage that I made, but it tells a lot. Like you need to have some blankets over the door, blah, blah, blah. And this is like from the international conference, that you need to have like protocol names, and you need to have like some small side tables for the teacher, the protocol teachers, and they have water, and the waters have different tags. So like it's an extensive work. Like what would you do, like what would you put in the as a background for a conference like that. And mid class guy, the police officers guy, and his son is playing PlayStation while he arrives. And this is a traffic jam from Cairo, but we filmed it on the, of course you all know this location, it's Mecidiyeköy. We filmed it under Mecidiyeköy bridge, so we had to bring like 30 different cars that has different car plates, and they were all dusty because like in Egypt, like because of the desert winds, like all the cars are dusty, so we had to dust all the cars before we start shooting. And this was from the one of the prisons. You had to have like some numbers, and you have to have a guardian, and what its costume looks like. Of course, this is going to go into detail with the costume designer, and they made it possible. And this is the back exit of the university. We needed to bring some garbage. The director wanted to have some garbage, and the garbage can be a part of set dressing, so we bring garbage on set. So it's not all about beauty. We bring garbage on set for their beauty. And another location, and of course it's the same thing that you're doing with your architectural references. Of course, this was like the minaret that we filmed was built. Actually, it was a built set. So we had to build a section of the minaret, and guess why? Because it's like 70 meters tall from the floor, and it's the actor's safety to film. Like it's very tough. It's a very tight space in the minaret balcony. We had the killing murder scene in the I don't want to spoil it, but like so he's witnessing something from the minaret. So we cannot film it from on top of the minaret because it's so tight and it's so windy, and you cannot get proper sound on a windy space. And it's going to be very dangerous for the actor because the other actor is leaning him against the balcony, so that we had to build a section of the Süleymaniye Mosque that we went and we got samples from the mosque itself, and with scenic painters and with sculptors. We made it. I think it was in the trailer, and probably no one recognized. It looked very realistic. And we filmed in a section in a construction. This was a built set. It was like 6 meters tall, and we had the minaret stairs, and we extended, like we enlarged the minaret a little bit for the camera to fit. It was like 80 centimeters, the balcony length, the width. But we extended it to 150 centimeters for the camera to fit in, but you cannot extend it more to make it look realistic. You cannot just make it up from your mind. And this is the nightmare dorm room that we needed to fit these crazy bunk beds, and they were on the wheels. So in between the takes, you had to take one tier off out if the director of photography says like just get one half of the room empty, you had to do that, and they don't wait for you. So we had to create a Sudoku system and a team just to get these stuff out. It almost looks like a math problem that you see in university entrance exam. And coming to an end, I think I need to wrap the speech, and I need to get your questions. But let me wrap with these. These were from the prison cell that we created. It needed to be. These were created in Beykoz Kundura Fabrikası. We filmed there all the time. So we had to convert a corridor, and we had to create rooms, and these were just like SketchUp versions. So it's not about beauty, as you see, like some of the sketches that I'm showing you, they're just crap, and we don't care about like the renderings while we're trying to convey technical aspects. But if we're trying to make presentations, we're having like render problems, and they look very proper, and that's it. But in this case, it's all about showing the pattern of the tent. This is a funeral tent that we built. This is huge, actually. It's like 9 meter by 4.5 meter by 3 meter width. So it's huge. So this is just for the technical side of it. And again, a simple drawing of the room with the table that we needed to construct this table for senior scholars, that we needed to host like 20 different people around it. Maybe it's more. And these are like the very rough, stupid renderings that it doesn't require any aesthetical judgment, but we are trying to convey it because like it needs to be done very fast. These are like the very technical drawings, and how you show the heaters. That, for example, these heaters were like the lifesavers that we turned them into an AC unit. So all the heaters in the movie that looks like AC units. Okay. I think that's it. 10 dakika kaldı galiba hocam. Nasıl yapalım? Daha bende çok şey var ama çok vakit kaybettik.
That's okay, hocam. Maybe we can ask for a few comments or questions if you like to, Sıla hocam. What do you think?
Yeah, that'd be great. And if you like to see more of my work, you can of course go online with my website. Let me show you that quickly, and then I'll get your.
Yeah, can you put it on the chat box, hocam?
Sure.
It would be great. Yes, I'm seeing already the YouTube links of the movies, I guess. Yes. Okay. Now we got the website.
So here's the website. And you can log in to the IMDb credits if you're ever interested in the IMDb credits, like the stuff that we made. And Vimeo is the great place to look, actually. This is the show reel that we have. It consists like 10 years of work. This is between 2012 and 2022. I think it's a 10-year show reel that it keeps adding, that I'm always adding in my Vimeo content. And but I think you haven't seen this one. 1 second. Then I'll wrap the conversation.
That's a quite list of of films, all kinds of productions, Sıla hocam.
Yeah, the Vimeo link gives you like the commercials and the feature films and some of the theater pieces that we work on. So you can just take a look at it. And if you have more questions to me, you can always ask them. You can find me anywhere. You can send a message from the website if you like.
Great.
Yes.
So let's look for some questions if there are any. Questions, comments? Oh, yes. Dalia, I'm seeing your hand. Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, I want to say thank you for the presentation. I really loved it. Actually, I'm from Egypt, so like when I saw the stuff, I was like, yeah, there is attention to detail that sometimes you worry about people representing countries that are not theirs because some misrepresentations happen, but I really enjoyed it. So I just want to say, like, how do you start and like into like art directing, or like how do you choose that career path? I think that's a question in general after graduation, like how does one get into what they actually want to do? So I just want to ask that. Also, you kept calling the renders stupid, but they weren't, because I just thought that you're creating a space for a story, and I think that's my favorite thing about stories and the spaces. I prefer, give me a story and I'll create a space. But yeah, I don't know. I think that's what makes it more interesting than, you know, the perfect stuff in interior architecture a bit. Like we're looking for perfection, but you know, an actual space has so much mess around. So yeah, just thank you. And that was my question.
Great, thank you very much for your comments. Like the reason that I kept telling them stupid, because usually you don't get to have like it changes, like the way you present your work differs from each project. Like for example, I shouldn't show you this one, that's why I'm not opening it like in full screen, but this is the booklet that I created for a Disney show that I recently wrapped, and it's going to be available. And it consists world that's a lot more polished, and you need to you need it like real regular renderings, like to make it look like it's the real thing. So it changes, but in the case that I showed you was totally different. It just like depends on how you present your work for that project. Like it doesn't matter, like just make it consistent and just make it coherent for everyone. That's about it. Like it doesn't matter like how much you can communicate your ideas, like it doesn't matter. So what can you do to get involved in show business design? So I think are you architecture or interior architecture first of all, or graphics? Interior. Great, it's a great start. I think like the assets you have from your education is going to give you a lot of advantages. As I said, there are two ways to do it. My way is to get more education on, like try to get a master's on the production design or art direction itself, because like it's a total different animal, like that you need to learn a lot about dramaturgy and screen reading and history, and like it's different. If you have chance and if you have like patience to have a master's 2 or 3 years more, if you're okay with being a student for a little bit more time, that's my way of doing it. I had 2 master degrees after Bilkent. First one was on lighting design, and the second one was on production design and art direction, that was involving costume design as well, which was like 5 years of master's degree. um, but like if you are like, okay, I'm done with school and I really want to work and I really want to be part of it, of course that's another path that you can I would totally while you're studying, I would totally contact with maybe the film department or with theater department, or with your classmates that are actors from your university, if they have like theater clubs, or if they have like amateur short movies to be filmed. That's a very good start. I mean, that's a very good start to try to deal with it's very that's how I started. Actually, I was designing all my classmates shows for free, and I was like, oh, let me just come to set, and I'll use my design background. That's how I started. And then you can always try to contact with the good art teams, art departments. You might spot some shows that you like seeing online. If you see a Netflix show and if you like their style, you can contact their production designer or art director for internship. Or or you can, like, if you have further questions, feel free to ask me, of course. And as I said, like, the industry is growing, so we need people. But to be safer, I would start by just finding the good, like the real people that you want to contact in the field. It's a big industry, and it matters a lot, like who you work with for the first time. You can just like be like, oh my god, it's a very tough job. You can say like, oh my god, this is an abuse and this is like totally crazy, and I'm not gonna waste my entire life on this. Or you can come across with good art departments, which you can work in very good close contact with your friends, and you can create all together. So that's the sensitivity part of it. So there are two ways. If you can make it to a master's degree, just do it. Or if you know someone, or if you need further assistance with the internships or assistantships, feel free to ask that to me as well. So yeah, it's a fun but very tough business.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you for your question, Dalia.
Any other questions, dear students or faculty members?
Yes, Farnush has a question, I think.
Oh, really?
I just wanted to say thank you for presentation and for guidance. I just had comments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's usually like a long journey to become a production designer or an art director, because you have to learn the basic filmmaking skills and the dramaturgy. And maybe before you graduate, that would be a great idea if you take classes, if you have like credits to go from literature departments for or cinema, like from film departments, like script reading, dramaturgy, comparative literature is very handy. And yeah, Nilay, I think you have a question.
Nilay Hocam is our head of department of architecture.
Hi.
Sorry. Hello.
Hello. Thank you very much for the presentation. I am also one of the coordinators of the first year design studio. And also I will try to share this record with the first year students, because at the moment also they are working with storyboards. And we gave them movies as appetizers, because as you know, the first year students, they do not know the language. They start with the technical drawing classes, etc. But what they can do to envision the atmosphere is just making collage studies and storyboards and such things. So thank you very much. I think that will be also very helpful to them. I wonder, do you visit too many places, when you start a job, to be able to find the place that best fits the atmosphere? And because I remember I read about Ömer Kavur, like he travels so much to find the best place. And maybe this is kind of an professional deformation. How do you look around?
Yes, of course. Like a majority of our job is to get in some big vans with the crew and to scout. So scouting is a word, is called, like, it's coming from izcilik actually. It's scouting. It's like looking for some clues. So usually it's producers, production designers, art directors, cinematographers. Mainly, we get into a car and we scout around. And trying to find the correct place is one of the hardest thing on earth. I think. Of course, like to be production budget friendly, you might want to film in a location that doesn't require that much of set dressing, or that doesn't require much of construction work. You might want to film it as is, but like there are so many things that changes that reality. I mean, what's like the budget of the location itself. Like if you want to shoot in Pera Palace, for example, if your main location is in Pera Palace, you cannot shoot there. Like they're gonna ask you a lot of money to rent that location, and there are so little things that you can do in that kind of spaces that you cannot convert it, and then you're gonna fill thousands of people in that location. You're gonna harm the location, and if you have an explosion scene, you're gonna harm the windows, and like so sometimes we evaluate like, okay, does it make sense if we rent the location for that period of time, and just to get away with some set dressing and some decoration. I would say, like, we change the decoration and we bring props. We do that sometimes. And for example, in the last film that I worked on, the Disney show, we had to build an entire house that was like 1,000 meters square because of the script. So we had to build it from scratch, and they like sometimes that's like the best thing to do if you do extreme stuff. You build sets, and the question of like how do you look around, it's very tough for me to watch movies. I truly don't enjoy them a lot. I get distracted by weird stuff, and I get distracted by weird stuff that I made like 2 years ago, because it changes. I mean, you change, like you shoot a movie and then you watch it a year and a half later, and you be like, what was that scene about? Like, what have I done? Like, seriously? Like, or like, could I do like, how did we make it possible? Maybe you get surprised or be like, oh my god, we pulled that really nicely, and you'd be like, oh my god, I know what I'm doing. So it all changes, and the way I'm looking around is not probably like everyone else's. Like it's an occupational hazard. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks very much
Thank you for your
for
question.
the answers.
Thank you, Nilay Hocam, for the question and comments.
Yeah.
And are there any questions or comments, dear students, faculty members?
Oh, I raised my hand. No.
Yeah,
I have a
that's
question
okay.
to myself.
Do you have a question to yourself?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Merhaba.
Merhabalar.
Ben de bir
Merhabalar.
soru soracağım ama çok rahatsızım. O yüzden İngilizce toparlamasam Türkçe sorsam olur mu?
Bana
Buyurun.
olur.
Şimdi ben de teşekkür ederim bu arada sunum için. Sezin Hocam ayrıca teşekkür ederim davet ettiğiniz için. Ben de birkaç yıldır stüdyo tasarımı ile ilgileniyorum. Bunun için 2 yıl Irak'ta kaldım. Irak'ta yaşadım.
Wow.
O yüzden birçok şeyi anlıyorum. Birçok anlattığınız sıkıntılar, şunlar bunlar, siz anlatırken her şey böyle gözümde canlandı. Ben sormak istiyorum. Şimdi bu artık bir süreç gelişiyor. Bu hepimiz için geçerli. Bütün işte iç mimarlar artık program kullanıyoruz. Eskiden elle çizerdik. Şimdi artık programlara döndük. Green box'lar var artık, biliyorsunuz. İşte beyaz fonlar falan. Bunlarda nasıl tasarımlar yapıyorsunuz arkadaşlar? Önerebileceğiniz bir programlar var mıdır? Ya da hangi programları öğrenmeliler? Hangi programları kullanmalılar?
Vallahi harika bir soru. İngilizce cevap verebilirim.
Evet lütfen. Çok özür diliyorum. Ben çok rahatsızım gerçekten. Elim ayağım titreyerek şu anda katıldım birazcık.
Sıla Hocam, it would be great if you can answer in English, because we have a lot of international students. They would also benefit from your answer.
Okay, the question is like, what kind of computer programs? Are you using anything that's magical, that's gonna enlighten your day? My answer is there is no magical tool. I mean, whatever you can explain your thoughts the best is the best way. So I start off, I'm an old school person, Sezin Hocam knows me. I'm like one of the last frontiers of the old school architecture. So I start off with hand sketching, of course, because like if you don't see the volume itself, and if you just to get the proportions right, I start with hand sketching. And if you lose your hand sketching, you're done, you're dead, you're like, you cannot survive in anywhere. Like you don't have to know AutoCAD, but you need to know hand sketching, and hand sketching is everything. So like while usually storyboarding is a great way of starting your ideas, actually, so that you know the proportions of the body related to the frame, so you know how much space it's taking in the frame. So storyboarding is one thing that you can learn, and Procreate is a great tool for that, and it's almost for free. It's very intuitive to learn. I think you, if you want to do it in digital, Google Slides are phenomenal. I think Google Slides is one thing that I use all the time, and Pinterest is one other thing that I use a lot. Pinterest is just great, but Pinterest has a problem with certain contents. Pinterest is not good for not manicured content. Like everything looks so polished, and everything looks so hyped, and everything looks very stylized. In this case, that you can never search anything relevant from Pinterest. But if you're after like a very polished world, if you're after like good architecture references, Pinterest is great. I use like all sorts of sources. Then sometimes I use sahibinden.com, sometimes I use dolap.com, just to get the right reference, because like you can only get the aged and used and worn stuff from Sahibinden or from Dolap. So that's the research part of it. You need to be a very good researcher, and you need to, I think, use it's good to use actually Google Slides or some sort of common platforms that all your classmates or your teammates can collaborate together. I don't believe in working in one laptop, and I barely download my PDFs. They're always like work in progress folders that all my classmates, all my team can collaborate. So Google Slides is a very good one. And of course, depending on the project, never lose your AutoCAD, or the least you can do is getting to know the SketchUp. SketchUp is very easy. I don't find it accurate. I don't like it that much, but it's very quick, and you can see the masses. AutoCAD is good, and all the other CAD programs, they're totally good. Photoshop is my lifesaver. It's like I made so much money out of Photoshop. So just like try to learn new programs. AI programs are crazy. I think in the last show that we worked, we used Midjourney. Have you heard of Midjourney? Midjourney. It's an AI program that we created some of our fine art work from Midjourney. Oh, good. So it has a very God. Yeah, just look at this one, but they're like Midjourney. AI is gonna steal our future, I know. Some of the artworks that we used in the last show that I designed was done by Midjourney, because you can buy their copyrights, and that you don't have to pay copyrights for the artists because it's owned by you. And this is the only copy that you have. Like, there's no other image that looks like this. So Midjourney is going to become, I think, big sometime very soon. So, I mean, it changes like all the time. You need depends on how you express your design idea. There's no magic tool for that.
We were using 3D Max and Cinema 4D.
Yeah, 3D Max is a great one. Cinema 4D is great. Blender is great.
Yes,
and
Blender.
They're very intuitive. If you, I mean, if you have the time to learn some of those, I think. And Lumion is great. While we were doing the renders.
Yeah, I didn't use Lumion in Greenbox, but we used 3D Max. We create a studio.
3D Max is great. Like, I learned 3D Max when I was in the university, but Lumion had become like, it's taking all the renders so fast that is crazy. Like, you spend hours in front of 3D Max. Your computer needs to be like very powerful, but Lumion is very realistic, very like fast, because it's using another algorithm. It's not adding light, it's subtracting light. So that's why it's faster. I like that one. That's for Mac. That's for PC though. It's not for Mac. Collage is a great way. So like, depends on like how you express your idea.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, İlknur. So, Sıla Hocam, shall we wrap up?
Yes, please.
Yeah, thank you for this very interesting presentation, Sıla Hocam. It was great. It was great seeing you, great having you here. I missed you. I'm hoping that you can come by sometime. If you have the time, of course. I know that you are very busy with everything. So it was great. It was refreshing and very interesting. Thank you. So we have a little tradition here in Archi Design Talks. As Bahçeşehir University Faculty of Architecture and Design, we donate in our guest's name. So a donation has been made in your name to SAY Foundation, helping underprivileged children for equality in education.
Oh,
so,
great.
Thank you very much for your time and all your efforts. It was great having you.
Thank you very much for inviting me. It's always great to see you, and I hope to see you in person. And I hope we didn't have a crazy communication problem in the beginning of the class. I'm going and I'm suing Türk Telekom and Turkcell, both of them. It's just Şişli, and it's like, what's wrong?
I'm in Şişli, and I'm having the same problem. You switched your place, and I did as well, because I had the connection problem as well. So no worries. It was great having you. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and I hope to see you soon.
Thank you.
And you can always, by the way, reach me from my email or from Instagram is the easiest way, I think. You can just write from there. Let me find it for you, so you can. Or have you got? Wait a second. One last thing. This is our company Instagram page. I just started making it, like, I'm putting the work over here. I'll have credits and stuff like that. You can always straight message me, or you can send an email. I can give you my email as well. And if you have further questions, if I'm not busy dead, I'm willing to answer all of the questions.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Yes.
I'll
Great.
See you then.
See you.
Take care.
See you everyone. Bye bye. Take care.